start by introducing myself. I am Santos. Friends call me Jomar. 43 in age. I am a businessman. I'm a finishing contractor and also a painting contractor. At the same time, connected with the painting company, Ladies Paints. I have a dream. Actually, my dream is to be a motivational speaker. A speaker like Sanchez, Francisco, and the like. And the reason why I joined Toastmasters because of that dream. Why? Because right now I'm also in the ministry. I'm a preacher, and I want to use that skill that I will learn here at Toastmasters to spread the news. And let me tell you a secret. I'm really not used in preaching or speaking fluent English. And so I'm so amazed right now because I'm speaking pure English without any Tagalog word whatsoever. Let me can I tell you a story?
Yeah, sure.
There's this guy named Pedro. Let's call him Pedro. And he's from the not so far away province. This guy is so desperate. He lost his job. His wife left him for another man. So he felt so desperate that he wanted to commit suicide. So what he did is he climbed the tallest telephone post in their place. And he said, I will jump because I want to die. Many people of that place saw him and they said, no, don't jump. Don't jump. It's a sin. It's bad. Don't jump. Please don't jump. No, I will jump, Pedro said. So the people said, hey, let's call his family. Maybe his daughter or anybody close to him. Maybe they could talk sense to Pedro and tell him not to jump. So they called the family, they called the daughter, and Dad, please don't jump, we still love you. No, I will jump, Pedro said. I will still jump. I have no more reason to live. Then the people said, he won't listen. Maybe let's call the mayor. Maybe he could talk sense to Pedro. Then the mayor came. Pedro, I promise you, if you come down, I'll give you a job. I don't need your job, said Pedro. I want to die. I want to commit suicide. I'm so desperate. Then the mayor said, I can't do anything else. Why don't we just call the parish priest? Maybe he could talk sense to Pedro. Then lastly, they called the parish priest. Then the parish priest said, Pedro, don't commit suicide. It's a sin. No, Father, I will still jump. And I know that I don't care if God will hate me with this, I will still jump. So the parish priest said, okay, maybe it's really his decision he wanted to jump. So let's just say a prayer for him, and then we just bless him. So the father said, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. To their amazement, Pedro quickly came down to the post. Hurriedly, he came down. And the father said, wow, it's a miracle. You're safe now. Hey, Pedro, tell me the reason. Why didn't you jump? Of course, we don't want you to jump, but why didn't you jump? Father, you said that if I don't jump, you will cut the post. So I decided to go down. Friends, I believe that communication is important. Sometimes the line between a good speech or a good advice and a bad advice could mean life and death to a person. So I'm here maybe as a a father, a businessman, outside those doors. But in this room, I'm just a humble student in front of mentors like you. I'm here to learn, and I believe that soon I will reach that goal with the help of Toastmasters. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for Jomar. So by the way, Jomar is going to be evaluated by Freddie. I forgot to mention that. Okay, so now for our next speaker. He's going to do an icebreaker speech also. And the objectives are to begin speaking before an audience, discover speaking skills you already have and skills that need some attention. The time for the speech is 4 to 6 minutes. And the title of the speech, Toastman. Let's all give it up for Toastman.
You hear that? It's my kryptonite. It's called stage fright. I need your clap one more time. Thank you, citizens, and good evening. Tonight, I have an important announcement to make to you. First, I am not Toastman. And second, this belongs to my mother. Yes, my name is Cedric M. Indovania. You can even check my ID. Very good. I'm a student at UP Diliman. Student number 2008-68907, and I live at Imus, Cavite. Now, I don't mean to deceive you, but for all the young people here, I know you watched many cartoons growing up. I know you admire many superheroes. And I too would like to be a superhero someday. But here's the problem. I'm no Superman. Can't fly. I don't run like a speeding bullet. I'm no ultimate Boy Scout. You know, Superman is called the ultimate Boy Scout. He does everything right. He's the moral virtue himself. But me, I lie sometimes. I lie when I go out. I tell to my mom, oh, we're just going bowling or wall climbing. But I'm out there drinking with my buddies. Sometimes I lose the will to be morally upright. Sometimes I choose to abandon my responsibilities. I'm not perfect being. I'm not Superman. And I'm definitely not Batman. I know many of you can relate. And that Batman is super prepared. He cannot be beaten. He has all the tricks up his sleeve. But me? Well, I still pull all-nighters just to reach a deadline. Yesterday I just crammed for a paper and I was gulping down tea, coffee, just to stay sane the work process. And of course, I still forget my car keys. Yesterday, when I drank with my buddies, I arrived home late, 12 midnight. Then I picked up stones, little pebbles, and I threw it to the window just to wake up my mom. Mom, I'm here, I'm outside, I can't sleep here. So there, I'm not super prepared, I'm not morally upright. Of course, although I'm speaking here, I'm not always this confident. I'm not like Tony Stark, Iron Man. Iron Man is always in his game, is always confident, is always showing his chutzpah. But me, I sometimes shrink from social occasions. And just speaking right here makes me nervous. Definitely not Iron Man. But what I can show you is a mentor to my juniors at college. A buddy, a good friend to my drinking buddies, to my colleagues, to my classmates. And of course, how could I forget, I'm the joker to my sister. Of course, what we have in common, all of us here, we are Toastmasters. I'm a Toastmaster, you are a Toastmaster. I know you can relate to my nervousness on stage. I know you can relate to the nervousness before making a speech, the anxiety welling up. It's the social butterflies creeping in your belly. It's very important to know that after a speech that you did well, there's a mix of joy and anxiety about what people will say about your speech, how you performed it. It's very, very nerve-wracking. And I know you can relate to that, experience that, because you're a Toastmaster. And I'm a Toastmaster as well. You know what? That's fine. I think it's alright. People make mistakes. People are flawed. People, for their everyday lives, they make mistakes and flaws that they would be ashamed to reveal to other people, especially to people that admire them. For example, what if we know that our President Mike is a womanizer outside? What if we know that Dennis is a big gambler outside? Those are personality flaws. But that's alright with us, because we know we can change as a person. And for all our mistakes, for all our flaws, we know that we can be a better person inside. Just not what our mask says, but what our real self says. And you know what? Alexander Hamilton said, "To err is human." But what I say, to embrace humanity with its full potential, flaws, goodness, and all of that, I think that's super. So Toastmasters.
Another round of applause to Mr. Toastman, Cedric. Finally, for our third speaker, she will be delivering basic speech number 7, which is to research your topic. And the objectives are to collect information about your topic from numerous sources. Carefully support your points and opinions with specific facts, examples, and illustrations gathered through research. The time is 5 to 7 minutes, and she will be evaluated by Roots. Let us all welcome Jomar Vicente.
Good evening, Toastmasters. Now, what can you say about this statement? Multitasking is a myth. Who says that it is true? Anyone? Who says that it's false? Who says that they don't know? Okay. Well, for the information of everybody, my fellow Toastmasters, this statement is definitely true. There is no such thing as multitasking. At least not in the way we think of it. But according to an article written by Dr. Jim Taylor entitled "The Myth of Multitasking," he said that multitasking is doing two things simultaneously. Well, it may appear that we are doing it all. For example, texting while delivering a speech, driving while talking to your cell phone. It may appear that we're doing it all, but what we are actually doing is switching from one task into another. So it's not multitasking, but rather serial tasking. Right. And if I may use an analogy for it, it's like driving your car and you're cruising in an information highway. But instead of driving smoothly, you're stepping on the gas, brake of your car over and over again. And you know that it can take a toll into your car, as well as multitasking can take a toll into your brain. Now, over the recent years, there are a lot of psychological researches dealing with multitasking, and let me share to you the very interesting results. Well, according to a study by Bergman, How and Why to Stop Multitasking, he discovered that multitasking can actually lead to 40% drop in productivity and 10% drop in your IQ. So the more you multitask, the longer you get. And Dr. James Watson said that only 2.5% of the entire world population can actually multitask. Now, if you think that you're part of the 2.5%, well, you go ahead and multitask. But as for me, I won't get my brain in a very slim percentage. Now, there was also a study involving the Microsoft employees, and they have discovered that employee, on the average, will take 15 minutes to get back to the heavy mental task. So, for example, you're working and you're doing a very heavy mental task, and then you stop to answer a text message or an email. It will take you 15 minutes before you get back into your focus or into your work. So if you think that you're saving time multitasking, doing all things at once, actually you're not. Because multitaskers are 50% more prone to errors and 50% takes longer tasks to accomplish the task. So these, my fellow Toastmasters, are very interesting research results. And I wish I knew all of this before I crashed my car into the post near our house because I was texting while driving. Now, this may all be going into your mind. Well, Toastmaster Jen, you don't understand. How can I accomplish all my tasks in the day if I don't multitask? You see, I'm the boss of my company, I'm a parent to my children, I have to feed the dog, and so on and so forth. Well, I hear you, my fellow Toastmasters. That's why my speech is not yet over. I'm going to give you 2 tips that I personally use in order for you to avoid multitasking. So, number 1 is you try to implement batch processing. Batch processing is grouping your tasks and doing it at a certain time of the day. For example, for me, I have a self-imposed rule that I will only answer work emails between 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So after that time, I will not check my phone or I will not answer email whenever I'm at home. Of course, there will be occasional sleep, but at least you will be guided on what you are doing on that time of the day. Number 2 is that you have to prioritize your to-do list. Every night, you try to think of what would be the most important task that you have to accomplish on the next day, and then you try to do it first thing in the morning. In that way, you will not cram, and you can avoid multitasking. So those are just 2 simple rules that I personally use. And my takeaway message for you, my fellow Toastmasters, is that you try to think of your own personal strategy for you to avoid multitasking. Multitasking is a myth. Now, you leave that feature to your smartphones and your laptops because they are built for that. Our brain is not. And if you stop multitasking, your brain will thank you for that.
Cedric. Jam Cedric. Ano yung title nun?
So let's continue another round of applause for Jem. Okay, so by the way, the title of her speech is Doing Your Brain a Favor. So I think I'm also multitasking because I'm forgetting a lot. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. So I think we do have enough time for table topics. Oh, we could have some. Okay, so for our table topic master, let us call on Freddy de la Cruz.
Always.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Well, it's time to have fun.
Yeah.
And in this we share our opinion, our ideas, our stories. Now, as I talked earlier about impromptu speaking, just feel that you are among friends. Just say what's in you, be natural, and use the SM method. S for story, M for message. You can start by saying, you know, that's a nice topic. I recall at one time in my life. Then you end up with a message saying that it is a value worth cultivating. Okay. So, just think that we also have 2 minutes only for each topic. So, it's just a short thing. Imagine that you are in a beauty contest too. And that, as I said earlier, impromptu speaking, which is supposed to be speaking without any preparation, is really speaking with preparation. That's why if you notice, even in speech contests, when beauty contestants are asked, they at once have prepared the answer for it. Because, you know, who doesn't have a ready answer for questions like family, like work, like success? You just have to look in yourself. Talk about your success in life, talk about your work, talk about your family. So it's very easy. I'm here to give questions, making it as simple and as easy as possible. Because just like a car, we have to be break in first. Because if we give difficult topics at once, this will become a bowing session. Everybody doesn't like to look at the table topics instead. So just have fun, and here are some few topics. Perhaps some of you may have an idea of this first topic. I mentioned it earlier. When a man opens the door of his car to a woman, either the car is new or the woman is. Which is which? Which do you think, or is it both? Anyone like to volunteer to have fun? Okay?
Really? Best I would like to use neither. Because newness or oldness is very subjective. For example, every Christmas we receive gifts. We open the gifts, we break the wrapping, and it's either we get disappointed about the content or we get surprised, we get elated. Newness to us is very, very dependent on expectations. For example, this Christmas, my mother gave me a hat. Well, it's actually a very, very good hat. It's very soft, it's very well made. but the hat itself is not my style. It's very JJ. So I was very, very disappointed. At the same time, I was thankful. Because who would give you a gift but your most important person in the world, your mother? No one else would consider you to give you a gift unless that person cared for you. So I welcomed it. I welcomed the gift, but I would sell it later. Yeah. But I'm very, very grateful for the gift. And to me, that is opening for the mother, the girl, and for the sports car, the hat. Okay, that's my
Now, they say it is hard to forget the first. Like the first boyfriend, the first kiss, the first date. Do you think so too? How about if a Toastmaster, ano na ako with
It's hard to forget the first. The first time I went outside of the country, I went to Malaysia. It was for a training for some technical skills. I was supposed to get a plane ticket from our office, and our secretary is supposed to book a hotel. But it turns out that the rule at that time was you can only use your credit card for the plane ticket. And I don't have a credit card at that time. So the secretary ended up buying the ticket in cash, and I got the paper ticket. When I went to Malaysia, I don't have a hotel. I only have my pocket money. In my pocket. So it was the first time. It was very terrifying, and I don't have a book hotel. So trying to be independent, trying to be not scared, to be not a victim of any malicious people. I tried to be confident, and I went to the tourist counter, and I said, "Can you book me a hotel? Is there a hotel with this budget?" And the ticket counter, the man at the ticket counter, "We don't have the standard hotel for your budget, but we have some unknown hotels." So this is basic hotel. So I had to go. So I prayed, and God, please help me. Let me don't put me into danger. So I booked the hotel with that man, and God is, I think it's not the standard taxi also, which I can only, that's the thing that I can afford. And so we went to this highway, and I know I'm going to Kuala Lumpur City. We went this highway, and on the exits, I saw the exit signs, and I saw Kuala Lumpur, but then the driver went forward. I was supposed to be Kuala Lumpur. And I said to the taxi driver, "Aren't you going that way, Kuala Lumpur?" He said, "No English, no English." Oh no, no English.
Oh no.
Luckily, I'm still here. As you know, I'm still here, and everything ended up well. But I cannot forget that. It's my first time to go outside of the country to talk to someone who doesn't speak Tagalog or English, and because of that situation, I experienced a very terrifying moment. But then because of that, everything went fine, I'm still alive. It gave me the courage to go in any places, anywhere, I don't know. In fact, in New York, I went to Manhattan alone also, and I went to upstate New York alone also. Because it's an English country, how much easier could it be compared to Malaysia? That, my friend, is one story that I can say personally that any first time is hard to forget.
Now, still talking about relationships. Relationships fail because women love too much. Do you think this is true? Jen?
Good evening, everyone. Relationships fail when women because women love too much. Well, I definitely do not agree with that statement because it's a case-to-case basis. In my case, I'm not really the mushy kind of a girlfriend, and I think relationships fail because you fail to communicate. Yes, because when I was in high school, so it's all like that, it's all cloud nine, it's all I can't wait to see you, I can be away from you. But in my age, now that I'm 26 tomorrow, it's my birthday. I realized that I'm in a mature kind of love. It's all about your decision to be together or your decision to stay together. And really, it's like that. So relationships fail only when you fail to communicate to your partner. And good evening and thank you.
Still talking of relationships that fail. If women fail in their relationship because they love too much, men fail because they love too many. How about we from North? Because men love too many. Men love too many.
I married at the age of, in my younger days. And during that time, I'm into, friends, good times, and the young guys did most of the time. And then I realized that even if I'm legally married with someone, I still have girls on the side. Because maybe during my younger days, I was then I became a local government official wherein I was then 26 years old, and I'm handling a position which is with a lot of responsibility, and I may say it's a department level. So actually, I was the head of the personnel department at the time. So there's a lot of And after 6 years of my marriage, we decided to separate. Maybe because instead of concentrating my responsibility with my family, my focus is on the other side. And just like what the topic that men fail because of this loving many girls, despite being a married man, you keep on entertaining those girls that coming into my life. And so I agree that really, in my own experience, my marriage failed because of that saying that man loves too many
Yung question mo, tailor fit.
Ang good boy namin.
Okay, so find the tailor fit. After 1 year into a relationship, she gives you a car. Will you be surprised? Let's hear from Toots.
After
Ay, sige po, thank you.
1 year in a relationship, she gives me a car. Will I be surprised? I say no. No, because material things are fleeting. They're here now, they're gone later. What's important to me are not the gifts that we receive. We receive, the season just ended, the Christmas season just ended. We probably have received some inexpensive gifts, maybe some expensive gifts. But you know what? I realized that gifts make us happy, but I realized that there's something more important than the gift, and that's the giver. Why? Because the gifts are just an extension of how the giver feels about you. So, minus the gifts, would you still feel the same? So, gifts are there. The car, if the car is there, then you say thank you. But really what's more important is that person behind the gift. I rest my case.
I was afraid that you will say, Sana, it depends whether the car is brand new or
It's like this.
Okay, so that brings to a close our table topics for tonight. Let's give everyone a big round of applause.
Again, let's give Freddie a big round of applause for a very fun table topic. Okay, so proceeding on, we'll go now to the second part of our program, which is the evaluation part. So this part is very important because this separates the Toastmasters from the Rotary, from the other organizations, speech organizations, because we do have an informal surroundings which is very supportive. which means we can make all the mistakes that we have. Right now, it's better to make those mistakes than making the mistakes in the real world. Okay. So for our general evaluator, let us all welcome Advanced Communicator Gold, Toots de la Torre.
We have a full lineup tonight. Full because we have evaluators for the different participants in the first part of the program. I shall call on the evaluator, our first speaker. Yeah. Before he threatens to go to the ladies' room. We shall have an evaluation first of our first icebreaker speaker. And that's our new member, the Jomar Santos, who will be evaluated by, a living legend. He's an apparition. Until we realize that he's flesh and blood. Let's welcome with a round of applause, Advanced Communicator Silver, Freddy de la Cruz.
It is said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And tonight, Jomar, you have just made the single most important step towards speaking excellence, towards becoming a first-rate Jomar Santos, and not a second-rate Bo Sanchez. Now, you went directly, you opened up, you went directly to introducing yourself, that you're a businessman, 43 years old, into contracting business, painting business. But what caught me most was when you said that you are a preacher. Because we don't usually meet preachers every now and then. It's only this time that I meet a preacher with you. Now, you went into the body of your speech by telling us a story about a man who was bored with his life and he wanted to end his life. By the way, did he want up a building or a post, no? And that everyone who was poor were not able to make the person go down, except the priest. Now, I don't know whether there was a little humor intended when you mentioned that let us just bless him by saying the same, Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Why did you go down? Because you communicated you were going to cut down the post or something. Although, in humor, we have to practice our punchline. Because first of all, if you're a preacher, you have to establish first whether you are the humorous type of preacher or the serious type. Because from what I see from priests, preachers, they establish a personality. Because if you are used to becoming a very serious preacher, then you go into humor, hindi namin nakakatch na audience ito. Unlike if you start being a humorous preacher, I think that is a more effective way of reaching out to the audience. Because there are ideas where if you pass it through humor, it is readily acceptable than by being serious. So I'm glad that you chose Toastmasters to build a personality that will really make you advance in life. Perhaps it's also one of God's purpose for you. But you surprised me because on our first meetings, I was looking at you, I was trying to study you. Businessman, dating dito si Joe. Yung pala, meron ko lang, ano pala doon, na priest. said, grabe. You know? So I would not be surprised if time and again, some of our ladies would consult you on their personal problems. And, so I like that. They use the body of your speech. And then you went on to your conclusion by saying, communication is really very important. And I agree with you that there's 100%. Now, I'd just like to make a comment. When you said that, you mentioned that you were used to communicating in English and Tagalog or something. This is the first time that you will communicate in straight English. Now, my answer to that would be a little yes and no. Because if you're a preacher also, you have to reach out to your audience who are mostly not really on the average level, on the lower level. So you have to reach out to them by way of the vernacular para mag-gets nila. So, to me, since this is not our first language, the most important thing pa rin is to communicate, to be able to reach out to them. Now, we are here in a speech contest, in Toastmasters, or later on, who knows, you may be our representative to the States to compete against Japan, against all those things there. Then we have to really talk straight English. But talking in straight English is not really a problem. We just have to use simple English. Because here we are trying to converse. And imagine if we converse and use hyperbolic terms. It defeats the purpose of conveying our message. So, that's a comment there. Now, one minor observation only. First of all, in our speeches, we don't say thank you in the end. Because in Toastmasters word, it should be the audience who will thank us for giving our speech, for giving them what they, entertaining them. Not for us to thank them. But of course, in our culture, we always say also thank you. And second, since this is an icebreaker, an speech to introduce, I was hoping to know more about you, when you graduated, what your hobbies, like that. Anyway, that's just a minor introduction. But what makes me appreciate most your speech is, first of all, you didn't use notes. And when we don't use notes in our delivery, so many things come into the picture. First of all, your eye contact was there, 100%. Second, even your vocal writing was there, up and low. And third, it showed the passion in you, that you are already using hand gestures to enhance your message. So, for an icebreaker, normally those who deliver icebreaker don't really use hand gestures or something. But in your case, I would say that, and I guess Coach will also agree with me, that you just need a little fine-tuning in your case. Because you're used to it, and I'm sure as a preacher, and for all of us, if we always use his name or his help, then will always be that help. Because we are into the Word, and there's a saying, we have these words to that. That's why I'm so afraid to really have a fight with my wife. Because if we have a fight with our neighbor, it is not loving the neighbor. It is fighting the neighbor, isn't it? So, that's one. And just like to end with this story, there was this two preachers. They were telling each other, I'm always reminded of God. In my case, the preacher number one said, in my car, you will all see a lot of stickers of sayings, saying that, oh, is that so? Then the second preacher said, you should see my house. My house is full of pictures of Jesus and everything, so I'm always reminded of him. And I just smiled to them. No, in my case, I said, I don't have your posters or your pictures. But when I am already at the end of my line and about to fight back, I hear a loud voice. Love thy enemy.
Too hard. Too hard.
So yun, by not having a punchline, you laugh. So, thank you, the laser
So, yeah, my goal is to give feedback on the evaluation that was just delivered by our individual evaluator. Now, I agree with what you said, Freddie, about Toastmaster Jomar developing his, you said personality. I guess you actually meant speaking style. Developing not the personality but the speaking style. We all have personalities. Now, the manual says that the objectives of this icebreaker speech is for the speaker to conquer whatever fear the speaker may have. And I must say, and I agree with you, that Jomar already exhibited some confidence, in fact, a lot of confidence speaking in front of an audience. And I also noted that he was able to reveal some facets of his character when he revealed that there was one secret that he wanted to share, and that then he went on by saying that he's not really, he's not like a duck going into the water when he speaks in front of an audience, in spite of his being groomed to be an effective preacher. Now, I noted that you commented on Jomar's vocal variety and hand gestures. For your benefit, Jomar, these are objectives in the more in speech project number 4, 5, and you were already exhibiting this in your speech. So those are, well, we call it bogey points. Those are good points. What else? Oh, Freddie, you know that you mentioned about the attempt at eliciting a punchline with the story. And well, I know that our speaker, our icebreaker speaker, Jomar, asked, can I tell you a story? Well, I'd like to say, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? You have to respond. Thank you. Anyway, but my point is, when Jomar, when you're delivering a speech, and you don't have to ask them if you want to tell a story. But the one thing nice about that, and I realized as I was seated there, was that you were able to catch our attention because you asked that question. And I guess that was the purpose why you asked. Ask if you can tell a story. Now, I agree with the evaluation of advanced communicator Silver Freddy about delivering a joke. There's a punch, and it was more like a tap, punch. But I realized Freddie, when you were evaluating Jomar, the punch was in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Now, when you repeated that gesture, then I realized that the punch was Pedro thought that the priest was suggesting to God, no, what's the point? When next time you're going to deliver that story, you emphasize, in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, like emphasize the vertical gesture of like chopping the post. Then your punchline would be effective. It's just that. What else? So I would like to comment that Freddie did a thorough evaluation of your icebreaker speech. In fact, he evaluated your advanced speech already. Vocal variety. So I think the message that Fred is telling is that you have a lot of potential, and we're all happy because we're glad. Let's give a big round. And to Jomar.
Yeah.
Okay, now we the next person we're going to evaluate, and that's going to be, I'll introduce to you the evaluator, is the person who delivered another icebreaker speech. And we all know that he's not a Superman. He's a Toastman. Now, I would like to introduce to you the evaluator. You're looking at him.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, Cedric, I like your grand entrance. I didn't notice you go out, and then when you were introduced, you came as a schizophrenic Superman. Then, I like your attention getting when you hushed and then you likened kryptonite into an applause. Okay? There's some frenzy that just.
We have a double evaluator.
It's not going to evaluate.
Yeah, also.
Okay.
I welcome you.
You see, I'm very upset.
We're just performing hand gestures.
Yeah, I know that, this reminds me, you remember the eulogy that was delivered when Nelson Mandela died? And there was this guy who was furiously doing the sign language. People were laughing and some were actually irritated. You know why? He doesn't know sign language. To interpret what the speaker was trying to say. So I would find that so hilarious if I knew what sign language meant. But see, I can recognize what sign language is. Let's welcome the
Congratulations, Toastmasters Cedric. They say that visiting a place the second time around is sweeter. I think I agree with that statement because by the way you deliver your speech tonight, I'd say you were having a field day. You were having a field day in the sense that you're confident, being in confidence, and you knew your stuff. You're able to reach your audience tonight. By the way, I believe that every speaker has this classic goal in his mind, which is to capture the audience's attention. And I think that's an understatement in your case.
not only captured us, you invaded us. You were able to capture your attention of your audience tonight in a way that by touching something which is universal among speakers. What is that thing? Which is something universal. That is the fear of public speaking. I know some of us, even though we have been speaking for a long time, we still have those jitters in us. And I think it's good to have those jitters. Just a little bit, have those jitters, because it gives you that extra drive, that extra push to give your best. You introduce yourself by, first of all, by the way, I like the way how you how you arrange your speech. First, you gave us analogies. You said you're no Superman, and you're no Batman, and you're no Iron Man. Those personifications, you use personifications in the persons of Batman, Superman, and Iron Man to personify the abstract ideas of morality, preparedness, and confidence. And I think you reached us by showing us that we are, by giving us a little bit, by describing ourselves. When you said, I'm not, I lie sometimes, I'm not always confident. By giving those examples, we see ourselves, a little bit of ourselves in you, and immediately we feel a connection to you at the start when you said those lines. Now, for the technical part, on the technical side, you were hitting on many points. I think you already fulfilled not only the objectives of the first speech, but also the objectives of the future speech until I think speech number 10. You had hand gestures, you had props, and of course the wonderful entrance. What a way to enter the room or begin your speech. I think it's a great way to shake away the jitters, not only your jitters but our jitters as well. So how now I like it also when you mentioned that those butterflies in the stomach. I mean, we all go through that stage in our Toastmasters lives where we harbor or we keep those as pets, those butterflies, and I believe some of us can keep those. But by showing us what we can be, for example, when you exuded that confidence, you exuded that mastery of your speech, showed us that you show that we are, there's hope, and for all our flaws, we can still hope and we can still aim for what is high. You said from Alexander Hamilton, to err is human, but to embrace it is even better. To embrace it is even better because by embracing that humanity inside of us, we also develop this good aspect, which is the aspect of hope, which is we will always have that desire to drive and reach out for the stars and reach out for what we deem is best. So congratulations on your speech, and hope to hear more of your speeches in the future. Thank you.
You know, it's uncanny that while Mike was doing the evaluation, I realized that Mike, you have a different evaluation style, because I did my evaluation and I was going through my notes, and I realized that we all have different evaluation styles. By the way, you gave feedback on how Cedric delivered his icebreaker speech. And I I realized that you were very, the word that comes is succinct. Succinct. Yeah. I don't know what it means, I just think it sounds good. You were very thorough. You were very observant, I'd like to add, because you were able to catch the different ways in which Cedric was able to effectively not just catch our attention, but as you said, invade our consciousness. And I agree with your evaluation. Cedric, you not just captured our attention, you mesmerized us, and you were able to present a much different Cedric than the ones that we saw in Sulu Hotel. I would like to add to how Mike evaluated you. You exuded much more confidence tonight. You are sure of yourself, and you speak with conviction, and you come with a lot of the speaking style. You delivered your message. Mind you, this is just an icebreaker speech, but you were able to do it with pizzazz, with class, with a lot of, like to use the word, almost magical. Now, there's one word that Cedric used, and it's a Jewish term. It's spelled C-H-U-T-Z-B-A-H. It's called chutzpah. Actually, it's chutzpah. It means gumption, or thick skin, or in Bicol we have a catch-all phrase for that, oragon. The Tagalogs will say apo. So chutzpah. I like that you were able to use these exotic terms. So when you deliver speeches, it adds to our vocabulary. Okay, what else? I would like to ask you to put your hands together and give a round of applause to the feedback. And to a wonderful, renewed icebreaker that Cedric was able to. Okay, now, we evaluate now the speech that was delivered by Toastmaster Jen. This is speech project number 7. And may I ask somebody who was able to bring manual? It's here, right? Speech project number 7 here. Let me walk you through that again. Research your topic. Collect information about your topic from numerous sources, number 1. And number 2, carefully support your points and opinions with specific facts, examples, illustrations gathered through research. Now, you spoke on doing your brain a favor. Actually, this is, you attack what multitasking is all about. And I like the way when you started, when you said, multitasking, is it a myth? And then you try to elicit a response from your audience. Is this true? You did not get a response. Is this false? You again did not receive a response. You don't know, and then you got the response. I remember a distinguished Toastmaster saying, who among you will agree to the statement? Please raise your hand. No response. Who among you does not agree with the statement? Again, no response. Who among you will not raise their hands regardless of what I ask? So, that's a nice thing to, when you start your speech by engaging your audience to respond to whatever statement you would like to give, then that is an effective way of catching your audience's attention. You're able to let them participate, be with you when you deliver the gist of your message. Once you're able to catch your audience's attention, then it's like, especially when their jaws drop, then you could put into them the gist of what you would like to say. Now, this speech project asks that you do research on the topic which you chose. And you did when you said 40%, there's a 40% drop in productivity when people do multitasking. I was sitting there and I was thinking, oh my God, 40% drop in productivity when you do multitasking. And 20% drop in IQ. My God, I'm almost gone. Only 2.5% of the population can do multitasking. And then you also mentioned a research with Microsoft employees about when you stated that it takes 15 minutes for somebody to go back into the same focus that he was in after his attention is diverted. So, you did your research very well, and there was a suggestion towards the end of your speech when you said, implement, did I get it right, batch processing? And for an example, you said you have a 9 to 4 p.m. window to answer your phone. Your work email. Oh, okay. So you have that window, 9 to 4, and then the rest you focus on the things that you need to complete to do. And there was another one that you forwarded to us, prioritize your to-do list. And you suggested to do it the first, as much as possible, the first thing in the morning, if you can, right? So, yeah, so I feel that you are able to comply with the objectives of your speech. It's well researched, and the information that you shared with us is something that we can use. It's something that is practical in the sense that made me realize that multitasking can cause a drop in productivity. So, if I were to help you refocus on the gist of your message, the most important message there is focus. Focus on the job at hand, in the here and now. After what you mentioned, you do your to-do list, prioritize, and then focus. So, this is speech project number 7, Jem, and you were able to employ the skills that you already have from even before speech project number 1 with the Metro Manila Toastmasters Club. You already have the skills in public speaking. Tonight, we've witnessed your message on multitasking, but we also remember the other effective messages in the different speech projects prior to this that you were able to give. So we strongly suggest that you move quickly to speech project number 8, so that after number 8, you just have 2 more speeches and you'll be a competent communicator. Congratulations there. We are proud of you. Let's give another round of applause. Hey, now who's our debate topics about this? Oh, Cedric. Okay, then let's see what Cedric has to say about our debate topic speakers. Let's give a big round of applause. Toastmasters, Cedric, and Cedric.
So my job here is not only to evaluate the table topics master, but also the participants of table topics. And before I go to the participants, I would like to comment the very good job Fred did for table topics. These topics were very interesting, and I like how he calmed the nerves of the participants before proceeding. I like the intro, the cultivating stuff. So before I focus on the particular speakers, I would like to comment on general speaking habits, mannerisms. First of all, I noticed that speakers here had a very noticeable mannerism of looking up when speaking. We can avoid looking up when we're thinking, especially when we're calling events and thinking of complex thoughts. And it's impromptu, it's supposed to be impromptu, so it's very difficult. But if you happen to stare at the table or look at the audience, shift your eyes, don't look up like that, because it's like you're praying. So you have to be conscious of your actions. Of course, that includes the gesture. I noticed that there were wild gestures just like that. It makes the audience quite, shall we say, distracted by the speech, by the gestures in the speech. So we have to be more calm about our gestures, be more steady but animated. As for the content of the speech, I really like Lona's vocal variety, how she mimic the, was it Malaysian? Yeah, the Malaysian person. Like, no English. Yeah, that was very, very good. And the way you narrated your experience, we were really able to imagine your travails in Malaysia. Of course, Nor and Jem, I like how genuine their speech felt, because it really felt obvious that they really have experience to show us. And truly, those were very, very wise experience. And my suggestion for both of you, keep cultivating the love. Whether it's cultivating up or cultivating down. And one more suggestion before I end this. When we right, dudes. Sorry. Yeah, you were also a participant, right?
I forgot.
Unlike the others who used the SM method, Dutz was more abstract in his speech and delivered a very compelling message. And it might seem different. I think it was more a prep method, but it's all the more valid. And I think it was very, very good for a very experienced speaker. So, final suggestion particularly for the 3 and for me also, because I did not evaluate myself. When we use the SM method, although we are very much focused on the story part, it's also important to focus on the message part. Because even though our story is very lively, very animated, and very detailed, if we lack a very good punchline at the end, our audience will be left hanging. So end your speech with much conviction and much twist, and becomes very, very exciting and very, very memorable for the audience. Thank you.
Iba na tayo talaga. Pang-contest na talaga tayo.
Cedric, you know, I'm observing you and comparing the Cedric that Freddie and I, who else was there in Zulu Hotel? Not Mike, you joined when we were on the street. Kali restaurant. I'm seeing a different Cedric. Will you agree with me, Freddie? Because you exude confidence and there's more meat into what you're saying now compared to the Cedric that I remember when we were in Zulu Hotel. You are more purposeful when you deliver a speech, which brings to mind what Darren LaCroix, world champion in public speaking, when we saw him, well, Mike, you were there, in Cebu. You were there. I was just checking if you remember. Darren LaCroix said, when you are in front of an audience, think and be aware that you are delivering a message. And that is what is primordial when you're delivering a message. What is your message? All the other ideas are peripheral on the side. So, Mike, you are more purposeful when you... See, I was just checking if you were Cedric. You are more purposeful when you are here, and I know that you want to take a blow after you finish your undergraduate course, right?
Yes.
And the stint that you will, the lessons that you will learn in Toastmasters will do very well for you when you get to the law program. Beyond that, when you practice law, the speaking skills will help you a lot in your profession. So let's give a big hand. Now, do we have a language evaluator tonight? We don't have a language evaluator, right? What about
I
You-
monitored for the gems and germs, but I didn't find any germs.
you didn't find any germs?
James.
Gems I do.
Oh, okay, let's listen to what Alona was able to know. Let's give a big hand to her.
So I'm not sure if Jomar is familiar with this, but for the sake of everybody and Jomar, gems and germ is about monitoring if there are germs. Those are the improvements needed. I mean, there are negative things in our eating that need improvement, and then the gems are the nice things that we need to continue doing. Telling. Okay, so as I said, there's very minor germ, completely insignificant, but I'm just because it's a common mistake for us. But I heard it only once tonight. It's the interchange of the he and the she. It's very common to us, but tonight I just only heard it once. So I think that's a very good.
So one sex cheats only.
For the gems, so I noticed 4. So we have Dennis mentioned about the theme tonight, which is the compound effect. It's a very nice principle, very doing little things that eventually will bring the benefits. And then the second is the topic of gem, which is the multitasking. It's a reminder that that we're trying to push everything and then it's actually losing 10% or maybe
20.
10 for you. I heard it's 10. It's a very nice reminder for us, especially to take care of ourselves and our health.
Halos naubos na kayo.
And number 3, it was a very lively table topics. I think, and it was already commented, mentioned earlier by Cedric, but yes, it's a very nice meeting tonight, what with a very lively and simple table topics. And we don't have a word for the night, but there came one, which is the
Good stop.
yes. That's all.
Who's going to do the counter? Okay. Let's hear it from Toastmaster Noah. Let's clap all the way.
Okay, I am the evaluator for the counter, and I'm happy because I did not include myself in the Anyway, the top notcher for tonight's meeting is President Mike with 24, and Mr. Toots with 20.
20!
Yeah. And Cedric got 9. Jem got 7. Alona got 6. My kababayan from Malabon got 5. And Mr. Vice President got 4. And our table topic expert got 2. If I may suggest, in order to avoid this very popular ask, there is only one thing you need to do, and that is before you talk, always be prepared with your piece.
They like your suggestion. Yeah. One Toastmaster I remember says that if there's a way to avoid delivering aspirative pauses, and that is when you're almost about to say, you cover your mouth. But you just have to be careful. It might go out the other end. There's a little danger. So, Toastmaster Nor, you could give the coup de grace at the end by working from those who uttered just a few asks, and then there's a momentum going into the climax, and then the coup de grace. I don't know what coup de grace means. So then there's some drama, right? Suspense, because everybody would be waiting for the information that you give on who the champion is. Yeah, okay. We could do that. Let's give a big hand. We don't have any other technical evaluators. Time. Who's our timer? We don't have any timer. Okay. There are no 2 timers.
No overtime. On the prepared speech.
Okay. Then I will give my general evaluator's comments. Now, we're in the Rotary Center, and I understand that there is another club that meets here. I think they meet every Thursday, the one of Marines. But I guess we are in a much better position because our meetings are livelier and we're more youthful here. You know, Freddie and I, bring the median a little bit higher. Except for Freddie and I, they're all very youthful here now. So my suggestion is, why don't we first bring our banner? Bring our banner, our banners. It's very impressive. Is it here?
It's displayed at Il Padrinos.
Oh, that one. It's displayed in Padrino. Is it possible to have another one?
Yeah, maybe a smaller
Even a
version.
smaller.
Just a smaller one, yeah? Because, we could improve on that sign. That signage outside. It's just a handwritten, it's on a piece of paper where we eat here. We could maybe even print something. Maybe Mike would think of something more elaborate and more attractive. Because remember, this is the seat of the more than 2,300 Rotarians in this district. And I must tell you that all Rotarians, almost all, including the incumbent presidents, are wanting to improve their confidence to speak in front of an audience. And what better way for them to do than by joining Metro Manila Toastmasters Club. So we can be a showcase for Rotary when they see that the best Toastmasters Club that meets in the Rotary Center every Monday is in Metro Manila Toastmasters Club. So yeah, let's do that. Number one. Number two, the flag. Maybe there we can buy a small flag.
Yeah, I can get one.
Yeah, it's cheap in National Goods Store. There's one small. Because it's so unwieldy to be tacking the flag of the Philippines. The waters. Maybe this center needs like a frame, frame with wood on it so that we can tap on the flag. But since it's not available, we can buy the flag. Also, I attended some meetings in other Toastmasters clubs. They have a lectern that is placed on top of the table. It goes like this. Can you imagine this as the box? It's handy. It's not, and then it's placed here, and it doubles as a storage box for all the things that's needed by the club. There's a box here. But anyway, since we don't have that, I spoke with Jeremy at the office here at the second floor. They are willing to keep our Toastmasters paraphernalia with them, and then we could just get it from them every Monday. That's an offer that we can take advantage of. Yeah. So we don't have to, bring it out and bring it back every time we have a meeting. Yeah. We can arrange that. That has been arranged. Yeah. Okay. So I am glad that we were able to have another meeting where we enjoyed. There's so much revelation about ourselves every time we meet, and we do this in confidence. We do this because one important lesson that I can derive from moments like this, meetings like this, is that we are a group of people who accept each other. In spite of all our differences, it doesn't matter if you're a saint or a sinner, we're all in the same journey in Toastmasters. And that's the journey for speaking skills. That's the first to become successful in our journey in delivering speeches. That's the first. Of course, the more significant journey is that journey which is called being significant to other people. That is when you are able to share your success with others, then your life becomes even more significant. Amen? Parang predicting. Let's give ourselves a big round. And I'd like to turn over control of the proceedings to our Toastmasters.
Again, another round of applause for our Again, it was a successful meeting. It's far from perfect, but I believe we have met the objectives of our meetings, which is to have fun and to learn. Again, I appreciate all the efforts that you have exerted, especially coming here, because every time we have a meeting, I have some worries sometimes of how many will attend, how many are going to deliver speech. But again, it is your attending here which makes our club alive, which keeps us inspired.
I see us evolving into, having meetings where there aren't enough chairs. Yeah, you count the number of chairs. There's not going to be enough because there will be more people coming for meetings.
Yes, I
Soon.
Yeah, I believe that because we are all going to inspire other people to join our club. Okay, and again, I'd like to thank you, and I would like to call on